2019 marks the 50th year of Maranatha Volunteers International's mission to provide urgently needed structures around the world. It is one of the most active supporting ministries of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, having worked in nearly 90 countries around the world. What's more, it has mobilized thousands of people on short-term mission trips, experiences that have changed countless lives and inspired a culture of service in the Adventist Church. When you look at the constant activity of Maranatha missions today, it's hard to remember a time when the work was just starting and the workers were few. When Maranatha was still an idea and not yet a movement. Today we'll take a look back at the humble beginnings of our organization and some of the key people whose tireless work and passion for service charted a course that would result in a movement greater than they could have even imagined.
1969. The average cost of a new house, $15,550. A new car, $3,270. Gas was 35 cents a gallon. There were Vietnam War protests as the U.S. enlisted a lottery-based draft. It was the year a man first walked on the moon. Another significant event was taking shape in 1969. It began when John and Ida Mae Freeman visited the 8 Mile Rock Church in Freeport, Grand Bahama while on vacation. They found a church half-built, unoccupied. John saw a situation that, with a little imagination, could be corrected. With the 8 Mile Rock pastor and members, he organized what we might call a church bee. Except instead of local church members coming to help finish the church, he would enlist church members from the United States. And they came, all volunteers, on the very first Maranatha project.
When we went down there on our first project in 8 Mile Rock, after Maranatha started, we took 26 young people with us. And when we started out, we worked on this project. They picked us up, took us out all day. They brought us lunch at noon. Then after about second or third day, the local pastor came to us and he said, "You know, I have a confession to make to you." I said, "What's that?" He says, "When you folk wrote down here and said you were coming down to finish this job, we had to put you up, we had to feed you and so forth. We just figured a bunch of you Americans coming down here to live off of us for a Christmas vacation." And he says, "When we see how hard you are working and none of our people are out there helping you," he says, "I have a confession to make." And we finished that church in 2 weeks' time.
This was the birth of Maranatha Flights International, a growing group of mission-minded Seventh-day Adventists taking the concept of a barn raising and applying it to churches. John, an Adventist, liked the word Maranatha, an Aramaic word that means Jesus is coming. Flights made sense because early on, the projects required people to fly by private aircraft to the location. And international was appropriate because the mission was most often outside the U.S. Projects multiplied, and the Freemans enlisted experienced contractors and inexperienced church members to bring their passion for service directly to the mission field. As the ministry grew, key people joined the mission, people who would make a lasting impact on the direction of Maranatha.
Dad had some gifts to begin with. He had imagination. He's always been really creative and ideas, but he needed other people to help carry him out. How it played out, I think, was just like, wow, somebody had a hand in this other than just us. Other people started coming in and it just kind of grew, and I think Dad became very grateful for that.
People like Don Kirkman. For years, architect and board member Don Kirkman had been designing and building churches in Mexico with his business partner, David Hensel. Then, in 1972, they learned about a Maranatha project in the Northwest Territories of Canada. Don decided to go to Yellowknife, and he also brought a contractor and friend, Van Vandenheuvel, along for the ride. Van was a contractor and owned a successful plumbing business in Arizona. Typically, he would have been too busy to go, but he had been recovering from a broken leg and was restless. Van decided to join Don and a large group of volunteers bound for the project known as Yellowknife. Maranatha was in its infancy, but word spread across North America, and 140 volunteers in 23 private airplanes demonstrated that lay people could find a place in the church's mission.
Well, I think Yellowknife played a very important part in Maranatha because I think it more or less sent a signal to the world church that it was good for the church, good for the people.
Leon Slikkers, another businessman and friend of John Freeman, began taking his family to the mission field.
My earliest memories of Maranatha being talked about was when my father communicated that we were going to be flying in his airplane to Yellowknife, Northwest Territories.
Tom Slikkers recalled the wonder of seeing a church go up so quickly.
Even as a kid, it was pretty amazing to me to see the scale of the building, the size of what was being undertaken, to be able to watch that kind of come up and then have church in it, 2 Saturdays into the deal. That was pretty incredible.
Leon Slikkers joined the board of Maranatha, helping shape the organization and structure. Don Kirkman began volunteering his architect skills to design Maranatha structures. For Van Vandenheuvel, Yellowknife ignited a life transformation. He couldn't wait to do it again, and convinced his wife Faye to join him at a project not too far from home, at the Holbrook Indian School in Arizona. And it changed their life.
It was amazing to me that people had come from all across the country to Holbrook to help. And that went over quite well. But then, before I knew it, he had signed up to go to Honduras.
Van sold his business and eventually his home. Van and Faye began volunteering for Maranatha full-time. They went on to be instrumental in developing Maranatha's mission and vision for the next several decades.
And we didn't have the slightest idea what we were doing, but with God showing us the way, we went ahead and were successful, not because of something we have done, but because what He's doing through us.
Ida Mae Freeman saw the hand of God in this grassroots ministry.
I knew this was something that we couldn't do ourselves. I knew that it was something that God had put into John's mind to do, and that's why I felt that I should encourage him in everything he'd do, because other than that, it wasn't going to succeed. But he was with us. I knew he was with us, and I knew it was something that the Lord wanted us to do, and not for any glory of our own, but for encouraging our family, our children, and we really started the whole thing for young people. It was because our girls were at that age, and it was something that they were excited about. It was fun to see them get excited about helping other people.
I'd say, Lord, help us to finish the work that needs to be done. Every job is a miracle. There is no way that we can build these churches without your helping us. And so we need all the help we can get. We know we have to finish the work. You've asked us to go out and spread the gospel. There's nothing that I can do. It's your program, Lord. It's not what I'm doing.
This attitude of faith continues to drive the mission of Maranatha today. Since that first vision, Maranatha has built churches, schools, clinics, homes, and water wells in nearly 90 countries. The decision to go is always predicated on need and faith, and since the inception of Maranatha, the hand of God has touched people to support this vital mission.
Well, really, I think the thing that Maranatha has done for more than any people, in spite of all these people that would continually tell me this is the most foolish thing we've ever heard of, I said, you do not know what this does to the people who go on these projects. And I said, it changes their lives. And we've found this to be true over and over and over again. When these people come back from these projects, they are so enthused over it, they help out more in church than they ever did before. It changes lives of people, and that's what this is all about. The Lord's about to come. We need to all change our lives. We need an outpouring of the Holy Spirit. And that's what Maranatha is doing with these people today going on these projects.
The faith and commitment of Maranatha's founders created a strong foundation for the organization. But it's people like you that help to push our work into the future. If you haven't already, consider becoming a part of the Maranatha family. Visit our website to discover all the ways you can be involved. When we come back, we'll travel to the Caribbean, where church members on the island of Dominica are drawing strength from God in the midst of disaster, and Maranatha is helping to give them hope.
Each year, more than 2,200 people travel all over the world to serve with Maranatha. The ways they serve and the locations they help are as varied as the people that participate on these projects. Maybe you're wondering how missions can be part of your life. Let's take a minute and look at one of the ways you can get involved. Can mission trips be a family experience? At Maranatha, the answer is yes. Maranatha Family Projects are mission trips designed with families in mind. Worship, work, and even play is aimed toward family togetherness. There are no age limits, and everyone is welcome to join, from 2 to 82. Maranatha offers family projects 2 to 3 times a year during Christmas and the summer. Get more details on all of Maranatha's volunteer opportunities at maranatha.org.
These women spend 560 minutes a day fetching water. Water is life. But your life shouldn't revolve around water. We're raising money for water wells. Make a donation. Give women the gift of time, health, family. Sponsor a well. Give water, give life.
In September of 2017, tragedy struck the Caribbean as Hurricane Maria swept across the region. Thousands were left homeless and hopeless, including residents on the island of Dominica. In the days following the disaster, people were longing for community, a center to heal from the effects of the hurricane. For the Seventh-day Adventist community, there were few places to go as the majority of the churches were destroyed. Today, thanks to the generous support of Maranatha donors and volunteers, one community of faith has received new hope through the reconstruction of their church. It was a Category 5 hurricane, the highest category possible. On September 18, 2017, Hurricane Maria struck the island of Dominica, leaving catastrophic devastation in her wake. After battling the storm overnight, residents awoke to a new reality. A country known for its natural beauty was stripped of trees. 50,000 of its 73,000 residents were displaced, and an estimated 85 to 90% of the structures on Dominica were damaged or destroyed.
I walk down, and everywhere I'm going is just, wow, wow. We're not going to come out from this. That's how I felt.
Jeff Latang is a plumber and lives with his family in the northern part of the island. They were a part of the fortunate minority, and their house sustained little damage in the storm. The same was not true for their spiritual home.
When I woke up in the morning, in anticipation, I ran to the back door, and I opened, and I looked, and I saw everywhere I could never see before. And I saw, when I looked for the church, all I saw was the front part of the balcony. And I went, whoa! I screamed out and woke up my entire family. Mariam Hashapur Church! I just couldn't take it. I just let it out. And when the other members came here and they saw, it was like, nothing's dead. The church marched up flat.
Jeff and his family attend the Beryl Seventh-day Adventist Church, and he's been a part of the congregation all of his life. His home sits across a valley from the church. He remembers when Maranatha volunteers came and built the church in 1989. The beautiful structure created a sense of pride for their congregation. But now, it was just a memory.
We couldn't believe it because we really thought that it could have withstood the wind to some extent, but the wind made mincemeat of that. So it was really emotional, and we were really asking ourselves, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? How are we going to build back our building? That's all. It was heart-wrenching.
The situation wasn't unique to the Beryl members. 28 of the 34 Adventist churches on the island were damaged or destroyed, leaving members scrambling to meet in any place they could. Although their church was gone, members continued to meet, first in the pastor's home and then with the Penville congregation, a group planted by the Beryl Church. Worshipping together was challenging, but Jeff and others saw it as a necessity, especially in the days following the hurricane.
God is important to me. He's the source of my strength. I have learned not to depend on nobody else but God. And when I come here, I find joy in worshiping Him, giving Him praise. I find strength in the fellowship with the other brethren. We meet, we talk, we express ourselves, we tell ourselves what's happening, we encourage each other. And without this church, I don't think I'll have much to help support me through.
For many, attending church was a hardship. The new location was far from members' homes, and not everyone had transportation. The congregation began to raise funds to help transport members to church, but attendance was still sporadic.
Everyone attends, but not regularly. You have some people, you see them this week, some next week, sometimes 2 weeks, you don't see any that particular individual, and then you see them coming. So I think it certainly disrupts church attendance.
Members were struggling to rebuild their homes and carve out new lives amid the devastation. Rebuilding their church seemed out of the realm of possibility. Despite the grim situation, Jeff refused to lose hope.
Our God is a God of the impossibility. I learned that pretty much in the storm. God has moved upon the hearts of people elsewhere, and they have really blessed us with assistance. For this, we will ever be grateful. And it has taught me to rely upon God. So even if things seems to be bleak and things are not as it ought to be, I'm not complaining.
2 months after the hurricane, Seventh-day Adventist church leaders reached out to Maranatha for help rebuilding structures in Dominica. Maranatha committed to reconstructing a few church buildings. First on the list was Beryl. Construction on the new church started in May of 2018, and several volunteer teams traveled to Dominica to help erect the structure and build the walls. In the beginning of March 2019, the building was almost ready to dedicate, but not without a few finishing touches from a special set of volunteers. Some of the funding donated to construct the church was given in honor of John and Ida Mae Freeman, who founded Maranatha in 1969. The Caribbean had special significance for John and Ida Mae, who died in 2017 and 2018, respectively. The Beryl Church seemed a fitting memorial to the couple who dedicated much of their lives to spreading the gospel through the construction of urgently needed buildings. Family members of the Freemans not only donated to the project, but also traveled to Dominica to finish the building and dedicate the new sanctuary. The group included 4 of John and Ida Mae's daughters.
I've told my sisters this would be amazing. Mom and Dad would, one, be so proud that all of us girls were here because through our lives we were busy living life and we weren't all as involved as they would have liked us to have been. So having us all here, helping them build it, it's very emotional.
We were just so pleased when we saw the church and we saw the architecture. We saw the love and the time and the interest that was put into making this just a beautiful sanctuary. I think that this will really be a congregation that appreciates what Maranatha has done. And it's been a blessing for me to just see that this has grown over the last 50 years. And, you know, when it first started, we didn't know how long this would go on. It's just blossomed from there. And it's very heartwarming. It's very meaningful to us as children to see what a legacy that he left.
On March 9th, nearly 50 years after the Freemans' first Maranatha mission trip, more than 300 people packed into the church for the dedication. Church leaders and members alike expressed their gratitude for the gift of a new sanctuary. The reconstruction of this church symbolizes a new start for Adventists on the island.
Having a church rebuilt is like the nation is rebuilt also, and more is for us. It means that the Church of God is taking the new step to continue the mission we have here in this island.
Witnessing a new building rise from the devastation is already making an impact in the community.
There are lots of persons who heard that we're building a church. There are friends at the Adventist Church, people we have been speaking with, and just having a new church erected, it would be an incentive for them to come to see the church. And since it's so well constructed, it's so beautiful, I think that in itself can want people just to make the church their church. So I think that's an incentive in that it will motivate people to want to be part of the fellowship and membership here. Church being so special would add to that.
The completion of this church represents an impossible dream and a complete answer to prayer.
I just can't express my gratitude. I will be eternally grateful to Maranatha, and I know the Beryl Church will always be remembering Maranatha for that wonderful, spectacular gift. I think I have not seen all those that you have built. I think it's one of the best, and we are thankful that you looked at us and found us worthy of receiving such a wonderful gift from you all.
The Beryl Church is just one of the congregations Maranatha is helping in Dominica. Currently, we're constructing a new community center for the Wesley congregation, enabling them to continue their previously active outreach activities. We're also building structures for several other congregations who no longer have a proper place to worship. You can help with the reconstruction effort by making a donation. Your generous support is what makes restoration possible in Dominica. Make a gift at maranatha.org or call the number on your screen. Over the last 50 years, Maranatha has grown from a group of mission-minded family and friends to a movement that mobilizes more than 2,200 volunteers in numerous countries each year. In 5 decades, God has blessed our work, allowing us to respond to more urgent needs around the world. We respond through the construction of churches, moving congregations out of sheds and into beautiful sanctuaries. We respond through the construction of schools, expanding opportunities for children to learn about their world and the God who created it. We respond through the drilling of wells, bringing life-sustaining water to those who lack it. We respond through service, providing opportunities for people to share Jesus or maybe find Him for themselves. The scale may have changed, but the mission remains the same: to transform lives.